Wilcotech's proprietary CyberSTAR platform automates the monitoring, management, and alerting for cyber workforce credentials and compliance. CyberSTAR manages the credentials and qualifications for over 1 million active users in the DoD and is the only 8140 compliance solution contracted for use in the federal government today. Here's a quick overview of the talent management module within CyberSTAR. To align your workforce to a specific framework. The framework in this case is DCWF. Once you've done that, now you can do the talent development and human capital activities or individual career planning activities, especially because of the KSATs that come along with that. So now you've got that rich history of an individual and what they have done, what they want to do, what they currently are doing. The individual career management use case, they're looking at what are the current work roles that I perform. Those work roles, you get assigned the required qualifications, you might get assigned a required skill set, and the system will track that. On the bottom side, right, not what I'm assigned to do, but what I want to consider doing in the future. How do I get to that kind of career exploration as an individual? A great way to do it isn't just by showing them positions open or position descriptions, but KSAT level data is really what starts to inform them. What does this individual do on a given day? Does that sound like a job that I want to do? And how qualified am I to do that job already? And also some things that might feed into, career exploration for an individual is, what is the organizational demand, right? Like, is there a lot of potential future opens for here? And from that career exploration, they start to build interests, and those interests will drive suggested curriculum, suggested skills assessment, even do behavioral and cognitive assessments on those individuals, just to try to get a more well-rounded perspective of who they are, what they're interested in, and where they want to go. And obviously all this feeds into the foundation, and it's used to surface information for career management and talent. So for talent management and human capital management, right, we're in the organizational leader or the squadron leader. And he's got a couple things that he has to figure out. Like, what does my organization have today? What are my current open positions? What are my expected open positions? What are the resources that we have at our disposal within the force today? And the third option is, am I going to have to fill this position from somewhere else? So the current resources and or a candidate tracking system that maybe hasn't been brought into the Air Force yet, they can still use those career explorations to understand what work roles they might be interested in through looking at tasks that work role does, or how does it align with my knowledge, skills, and ability. And that's going to help this organizational leader make decisions on how can I fill open positions, right? Is there a current resource in my org with a skills experience match? Do they assess well if I've given them assessments? And are they interested in that position? So I can send a demand signal to the organization saying, hey, I'm interested in filling this position. I really don't have a plan to fill this position at this point. And from that, you can decide, hey, do I've got to push this out to external to recruit somebody into this position? Do I want to train somebody into that position? Let's say it's a medium level position. Maybe I want to train one of my earlier career individuals into that position so that I can recruit into the early career position. What you've got on the left-hand nav, you've got the individual perspective, and then you've got the manager's perspective of this system. So right now we're in the individual's home screen, right? So he's got his work roles. What are my assigned work roles? What are work roles that I'm planned? Through my career exploration, have I favorited any work roles? And then, what are work roles that are closely related to the work role that I currently hold? So there's those quick dashboardy elements. The things that I've favorited, I kind of bring those to the right, and I can sort of fly through those to see things that I've favorited, or I can drill into this cyber policy and strategy planner role. Okay, I've got 80% of the knowledge. I've already demonstrated that through my previous roles. There's no skills defined for this role, but there's abilities defined for this role. I've got 2 of those 3. What are the tasks? Well, I've already performed 40% of the tasks, 47%, but what are the other 53? So I can quickly filter through the tasks. Okay, so, and again, maybe I've really enjoyed organizing activities. I'm not super technical at this point in my career. but I'm very organized and I'm more of a program and project manager. These tasks look like they're a good fit for me, right? Like I get to integrate um, process and policies. I get to assess policies. I get to talk to leaders in the organization. I get to, basically be the communicator to stakeholders. Those are all things I enjoy doing. They're not things that drag me down on a daily basis. That's why I favorited this position. And I'm also a pretty close match to this position. So I want to make sure that the organization sees that I have an interest in moving in this direction. I can also look at any training that might get me to be a closer KSAT match. So if there's a Cyberspace 300 course, okay, it's basic proficiency level. It's a 2-week course. It's an Air Force course. Yeah, that one looks like it will add more to my knowledge, skills, and ability match. I'm definitely going to show interest in this position so I can do that. And that sends a demand indicator to the organizational planners that I'm interested in this position. Obviously, you can dive deep into all the ways that an individual can manage their own career, but it's all predicated on having a framework like the DCWF that has core and additional knowledge, skills, ability, and tasks defined, right? Because that starts to really inform me what I will be doing in that role, and is it a match for me? All right, so I'm going to jump over to the organizational manager. But as a career manager or a career field manager, I'm really worried about my staff. So I've got 211 staff, 9 direct reports. I've got 11 total vacancies, and I've got vacancies with plans. Those are people that I've spoken to, and they have plans in place to become some of my vacancies. And I can see really quickly on this dashboard level view, like, what are my vacancies? Do I have plans for vacancies? And then over on the right tab, I can see, are people matriculating? Okay, I've got 2 plans that seem to be off track, but I've got 3 plans that seem to be on track. In other words, people are matriculating through the education. Maybe I've given them, different missions or exposures to some of the tasks, and they're performing well. So that's good to know. And then obviously I can look at my staff. But let's say I want to really jump in and look at my vacancies. So in this case, let me say, I'm going to double click on this forensic analyst vacancy. Yeah, I've got 3 opens. 2 of them are planned. Let me plan this other open, right? So that I can actually get to a place where I'm comfortable that I'm going to have a full staff for my forensic analyst. I've got 2 really good KSA matches here. Javier Gomez looks pretty good. If I were to send him to training, or if I would, get him into a certification program, I can probably get him there in $1,400 in 5 months, right? He satisfies 57 or 63% of the KSAs. And then I've got this Seth Houston, a little bit longer duration to get there. He's in a different role that I'd be bringing him to. He's got about 50% of the KSAs. I like the look of what I've got available to me. So I'm going to go ahead and plan this work role. So let me take Javier and Jacob, and let me pull them into a little bit more of an analysis mode. So again, Javier, he's a KSA match. Oh, look, he has actually expressed interest in this position through the individual side of this map, and his manager has shortlisted him, said he's a great fit for this role. That's really interesting. So I want to go in Javier because right now I just got hey, he's a 67% KSA match. What does that really mean, right? Like, which ones are they? So here's who's his supervisor. Here's his work role history, right? He's I'm saying like 12 years, 13 years, but here's his matriculation through the organization. Here's a little bit more about what does he have, right? So he's got a really high knowledge set. 75% of those skills or those knowledge elements he's already demonstrated in previous work roles in his history. Skills, he's got 60% almost. So he's demonstrated a lot of the skills. Abilities, 100%. He just hasn't had a chance to demonstrate a lot of the tasks before. So I can kind of look at this and say, well, what are those tasks realistically? And what does he not have? Would I want to send him to training? Would I want to send him assessments? But I really like the look of Javier as this plan. So I'm going to add him to the short list, and I'm going to schedule him to an assessment and the assessments aren't questiony assessments. The assessments can be actual working through case studies or virtual lab environments to just see if he can demonstrate more KSATs than he has actually been able to show. So again, I'm going to add him to the short list, and I'm going to schedule him for an assessment.